Biology Part 90. The temperature inside a single-celled organism is normally equal to that of the environment, but many larger ectotherms are able to maintain their body temperatures a few degrees higher than the surrounding air by means of their behavior. This is called behavioral thermoregulation. A lizard, for example, heats up to early in the day by exposing its body always to the sun, absorbing heat energy from the sun's rays. Later in the day, it avoids extremes of the temperature by facing the sun head-on or by seeking shade. In this way, the lizard can keep its body close to the optimum for activity during much of the day. However, when night falls, its body loses heat and the lizard becomes torpid, and that is sluggish and slow-moving. Endotherms and homeotherms. Endotherms or homeotherms produce most of their body heat internally and possess the physiological mechanism for maintaining a constant body temperature. They are said to show physiological thermoregulations. Only birds and mammals belong to this group. The main advantage of the endothermy is that it provides nearly optimum conditions for enzyme-controlled reactions. Consequently, the metabolism of the metabolism of the organism can become increasingly sophisticated and intricate. It is no coincidence that the endotherms have developed the most effective homeostatic mechanism and achieved the greatest degree of homeostatic control over their body functions. Muscles and nerves, for example, work best at 35 to 40 degrees Celsius. Coordination and sensory processing are speeded up at these temperatures, allowing endotherms to become highly efficient predators and fleet-footed herbivores, well able to evade capture. On the other hand, the endotherms require a far greater energy input than the ectotherms and are forced to spend much of their time in search of food. Typically, at least 80% of the energy derived from the food is usually for maintaining body temperature. In habitats where the availability of the food is limited and is in deserts, the ectotherms compete very successful with the endotherms, and they should not be thought of as primitive or ill-adapted organisms. Well, next we'll talk about gain and loss of heat. For this, we'll talk about radiation, we'll talk about conduction, we'll talk about convection, we'll talk about evaporation, we'll talk about the other means in this way. Then we'll talk about human skin, and with human skin we'll talk about the epidermis, we'll talk about the dermis, we'll talk about sense organs, we'll talk about hair follicles, we'll talk about sebaceous glands, we'll talk about sweat glands, we'll talk about temperature regulation, and we'll keep on talking on the skin. And as we move ahead, we'll have some very interesting consideration, that of the thermogenesis. Then we'll have the vasodilation and vasoconstriction. Thereafter we'll go on to adaptation for life in hot climates, and when we are talking about it, we have certain information regarding this, and we'll talk about the adaptation for life in cold climates. We'll compare and contrast the conditions of cold climate and hot climate, and we'll have the understanding of the different animals and plants in this circumstances. So right now, in our next video, we'll talk about the gain and loss of heat, and of course there are different factors, different layers. The body goes through certain interactions and then it responds to them. So we'll explain gain and loss of heat in our next video as we move along with it. That's all for right now.